Gabes, the beginning of a journey through what is the fascinating oasis of Tunisia. All the mystique of the Orient is here. Art, culture, history, and endless desert horizons. Our coachman talks gently to his horse. The bridle is fitted. The journey can begin. We travel through the streets and pathways of the oasis at leisurely pace. The freshness of the gardens and the green splendor of the palm trees stimulate the senses. The journey provides a good general impression of the region. The 10 square kilometer coastal oasis has a population of 93,000. The local fishermen have returned with their catch. Delicious seafood and fresh tuna are an important part of Tunisian cuisine. Numerous olive trees line the roads of this fertile area. The Ghorfas of Medenine boast a variety of souvenir shops. In the past, these multi-floored mud buildings served as dwellings and storage areas for the semi-nomads of this region. A Ghorfa is a collection of buildings. They're often part of large complexes with hundreds of buildings grouped together around large courtyards. Each Ghorfa consists of several stories. They're connected by stairways and in the main, we're each inhabited by an entire family unit. METAMEUR is one of the many interesting villages in southern Tunisia. It provides a good insight into village life. The inhabitants of this region once stored their life-sustaining harvest here. In hostile times, they used the Ghorfas as secure refuge for their food. In times of peace, the loam buildings were used for both business and social interaction. The remains of the walls have been well preserved. Travel by mule makes life a lot easier. They carry both goods and people. The modern Matmata contains dwelling houses, cafes, and the customary camel square. The original dwellings were scattered within the mountain area. The caves here provide cool living quarters for both man and animal. They descend 10 meters into the soft earth. A storm breaks. The desert sand blows across the road. It soon obscures the view. It's best to remain in the carriage. Walls constructed to fend off the sand are of little use, and palm trees struggle against the relentless force of nature. Surrounded by desert is the sleepy village of Douz. At one time it was a thriving camel trading centre. Now it has markets, and the famous Sahara Festival takes place here. This is the domain of the camel. Well adapted to the region's harsh climate and arid terrain, the camel is the ideal mode of transport for the Sahara. Modern hotel complexes alternate with green oases. Here the date palms are up to 100 years old. They bear fruit from their 5th year of growth. "50% of the local inhabitants work in agriculture. Grain, olives and vegetables are the country's most important products. For thousands of years, water has been sacrosanct in the desert, and the humble dromedary is also well provided for. They carry a large supply within their humps. In the infinity of the desert, in which each grain of sand makes up the ever-shifting landscape, a few isolated palm trees create long shadows in the sand. This desert fortress has been the setting of many a movie. Incomparable nature and first-class hotels are popular with the world's filmmakers. Many of those who live in the desert usually keep themselves well out of sight. Beetles, mice and snakes lie well hidden in the seemingly lifeless terrain. Mules carry both goods and humans without any difficulty. They can cover a distance of up to 30 kilometers a day. The wind constantly shifts the dunes, forever changing the landscape. Light and shadow, an indelible part of the scenery. The ocean of sand seems to be without end. The heavier grains of sand are not blown very far away. Instead of whirling through the air, they simply form new drifts. Oases break the monotony of the desert. The secret of their garden-like splendor is due to clear, fresh water.
The Torra Ruins in Mansurah are a further highlight of the journey across the Tunisian Oasis. The sun beats down relentlessly on the boundless Sahara. Individual palm trees appear as green guardians of the oasis. They provide all-important shade and hold the secrets of bygone times. In the Middle Ages, Kabylie was an important market for the slave trade, and during French rule, an important garrison of the French Foreign Legion. Palm trees are used for a variety of purposes. Their wood is used for house construction, and their palm branches are made into mats and baskets. These small pointed rocks will look familiar to many movie fans. Those who've enjoyed Star Wars will instantly recognize this unique location. But this is not a creation of Hollywood. It's a natural landscape that has evolved over millions of years. The CHOTT salt lake is located just above sea level. Intense evaporation creates a crust on the lake that is rich in salt. Legend has it that thousands have perished in the treacherous CHOTT. Indeed, Karl May recorded his adventures here in many exciting books. It is unwise to explore the CHOTT without an expert guide. The road across the large salt lake extends for 26 kilometers to Douz. Douz, the Eden of the desert, provides shelter for almost 20 villages. Its unique architecture is highly impressive. The walls of the houses consist of loam bricks that form geometrical patterns. Depending on the position of the sun, they create long shadows on the walls. These female images form part of the exhibits on display in Douz's Ethnological Museum. An intriguing confusion of both Roman and Tunisian life. The architecture dates back to ancient Persia. Known as Tuzurus by the Romans, Douz was a desert trading center. The Ouled El Hadif district has retained its medieval character. The doors of the large houses that belong to the upper middle classes exude prosperity as well as tradition. Small roofed squares and mosques create a harmonic picture. Each tiny shady corner is the perfect area for a rest. The scant fittings are characteristic of Islamic design. Nothing is allowed to distract the faithful from their prayers. 5 times a day, the call of the muezzin sounds out from the mosque. Nefta, the pearl of the DJERID. As the sun scorches the surrounding terrain, 152 natural water springs bubble beneath Nefta. Nefta's new town with the bordering souk quarter is situated in the east. On the western side is the older district with its sacred buildings and twisting alleys. For more than 1,000 years, Nefta has been the religious center of a mystic Muslim sect known as the Sufis. Its founder came here in the late 7th century. Today, there are 24 mosques in the Old Town and over 100 sacred graves known as marabouts. Each year, thousands of pilgrims come to worship here. The cobalt blue doors and shutters were designed to keep out flies and insects. Today, they've become part of the country's architecture. Both doors and locks provide a wealth of material for photographers. There's an amazing variety, both simple and ornate. It's said that for those who wish to experience a corner of paradise, Nefta is the place to be. And its architecture is quite remarkable. According to ancient tradition, each house builder recorded his achievement for posterity by leaving his handprint on doors and walls. This is not so common today. Legend has it that following the Great Flood, one of Noah's grandsons discovered a freshwater spring here. Within this green oasis bubble 1,000 natural springs. 400,000 date palms grow on the southern edge of the city. The water also nourishes fruit trees, vine gardens, and an assortment of vegetables. Beyond the city walls are a few isolated houses, and the arid terrain is a tempestuous wilderness of water-seeking bushes and yelling dromedaries.
Nomads have pitched their tents along the riverbanks. They once protected the town's inhabitants and in return were rewarded with practical goods. In Roman times, CHIEBIKA was a castle named Ad Speculum. This charming oasis village is surrounded by desert vegetation. Various remains have been discovered here: ground firestones, bone implements, and fragments of clay pottery. The color of these ancient abandoned buildings is similar to that of the nearby mountains. This natural camouflage served as good protection against many a would-be invader. The view passes from the ruins to the remoteness of the landscape. Winding roads lead to the region's most remote mountain oases. Close to the Algerian border, the climate and landscape is transformed. The canyons become deeper, the mountains more rocky, and the waterfalls deeper and more spectacular. Beyond a granite mountain range is TAMERZA. This green mountain oasis has an abundance of water and is made up of 3 villages. It's also known as High Paradise. The almost deserted town is like a sleepy village. The mosque and marabut are well preserved and are still attended by the few who live here. The Berbers built a fortified settlement here. It's also been the location for several motion pictures that required biblical scenes. On the opposite side of TAMERZA is a fabulous luxury hotel that has some wonderful views of the old town. Built in 1434 on Byzantine foundations, GAFSA's Kasbah is well worth a visit. The fortress is a reminder of the town's dramatic past. The village is north of the DJERID and is one of the oldest settlements in Tunisia. This place was inhabited as long as 8000 BC. The water of the Roman baths reflects the ancient history and traditional culture of this fascinating town. The shadows of evening begin to fall, and the light of the setting sun illuminates this Tunisian oasis in a spectacular purple light.